Welcome to my year in review for 2020. This year felt like at least 4 years in one, not just because of the pandemic, but really because of all the stuff I went through with Happy and diagnosing him with PSSM type 2. So this would be like right after we moved to that new ranch, we went to an arena that you can hire, a public arena, to ride. And he looks incredibly skinny here, and he looks very tense through his body. But you know what? It's really not as bad as I remember it feeling. It looks not great, but it also doesn't look terrible. So we didn't know he had PSSM at this point, and we were really scratching our heads as to why he lost so much weight. But we just chalked it up to it being winter and a stressful move and all of that kind of stuff. In February, it finally dried out enough in the arena that we could ride in it. In January, we rode at that hired arena once or twice, and then just kind of up and down the driveway at the property because this arena took forever to dry out. So got to ride in the arena, not expecting much change out of him between January and February just because I really didn't get to work on very much. So he looks about the same as he did in January in this video. The one very small change that we made for Happy was that I started riding him in a loose ring two-jointed snaffle, double-jointed snaffle. So it has a lozenge in the middle, it's not a French link. And that seemed to make a really huge difference for him, just feeling more relaxed. I don't really think he really enjoyed the Myler. I had a Myler level 1 egg butt snaffle. And once I stopped using it, he did seem to have a little bit more forward and was a little bit more relaxed in his bridle than he was prior. Towards the end of February, Happy ended up becoming a little bit lame on that right front. You can start to see it now. He ended up developing a huge abscess in that foot that literally, I kid you not, took 11 days to blow. So you see it here really bad. And the vet just recommended we leave him out in the pasture and it will eventually blow when it's gonna blow. So it literally took 11 days and it was the most painful thing to watch. After those 11 days, the abscess finally blew, and here I just kind of let him out in the arena and was playing with him a little bit and letting him just move around. We ended up really not doing very much with Happy for, I would say, at least 2 to 3 weeks after this abscess because he still was pretty off, especially at the trot and the canter, obviously. You'll see in this next video I have coming that he's cantering and trotting by himself in the pasture, but he looks off still. So we just kind of let him take it easy and hang out, and I ended up riding a couple of Stephanie's horses in lessons.
droopy lip. Oh man, he's tired. But I feel so good.
So following all that abscess work, I did a lot of walking when I felt like he was finally getting more sound, and we did a lot of massage work. So you'll see that first clip, I was giving him a massage with this tiny little like vibration massage that our chiropractor gave us. I think it was kind of more like a fascia type massage, and he loved it. He would fall asleep every time I did it. So that's kind of like what we did. We would walk around the property and I'd give him a massage and I'd groom him, and he didn't really get any heavy riding in March.
He's literally like, I'm not gonna run now because you're filming and I know you're there. And that's rude. Yeah, he ain't gonna do it. Oh, maybe he will. Who knows? The horse is crazy.
I wanted to start brushing up on my jumping because I felt like we would be jumping happy pretty soon. So I took some lessons on one of Stephanie's lesson horses. This is Snuffy. And you can see I'm really out of jumping shape and not doing that great. But this was one of our first lessons back into jumping. And obviously I couldn't jump happy at this point. So Snuffy was a good stand-in, and he's a really good boy over fences. With fresh grass in the pasture for Happy to eat, and he was doing really well on his top line balancer. He looked so good, and he was really doing a lot better under saddle. He was really enjoying that loose ring snaffle, and he just looked really, really good to me. So fluid and relaxed in his body. Even if he's just slightly chubby here, he still looked really good, and it was making me so happy that he was doing so much better. Due to my lack of navigation skills, this trail ride went from being supposedly 6 miles to a 12-mile trail ride. And when we got home, Happy refused to get off the trailer, like could not back up off the trailer. I tried and tried and tried for I think about 20 to 25 minutes, and then he finally backed up. But he was just so stiff and I couldn't figure out why. And at that time I was confused as to what was going on, and he had already had his blood work done through the vet. I think they took it at the end of March, and so I hadn't heard anything back from it. And what had ended up happening was that the vet who took his blood work and was going to call me was on medical leave because she, I think, ended up shattering her wrist or something. So I called the vet's office, and that was when we found out around May 18th that Happy did have PSSM. We just didn't know what type of PSSM he had since we'd only done the blood work. So thus began my sending off hair samples to Animal Genetics and also Equisec to figure out if he had type 1 or type 2. At the beginning of June, we did a show through Dressage Show Online where I did intro A and B with Happy. So this is one of the filmings that we did to upload to the site for judging. He was doing so much better. Once I found out, even before I did the hair samples, that he had PSSM, I switched his diet immediately to a low sugar, high protein diet. I hadn't had all my supplements figured out yet, but I just started him out on basic things that I thought would help him. The reason that I was worried when he wouldn't back up off the trailer is I later found out that that was a tying up episode, and that he tied up between either finishing the trail ride and getting on the trailer, or sometime on the trailer he tied up. And this is one of his episodes of tying up. You can see his flank it's not him breathing, that's actually cramping happening, and a really big cramp there happens. So that was actually happening on the trailer, and that was why he did not want to back up off the trailer. In the middle of July, we moved to Stephanie's property, which is basically in the middle of a redwood forest, so it's gorgeous. I still rode Happy 3 days a week, or I saw him 3 days a week, but really all we were doing at that point was trail riding bareback up and down Stephanie's road, which was a gorgeous ride. We did ride a couple times at the public arena, but mainly we just did this. And another thing that happened around that time were the fires, so I don't have a lot of footage from that time because we really weren't riding that much since the air quality was so bad.
Someone got mad that his buddies went out without him, and now he's all freaked out. Can't work. So he's gonna have to work in the round pit today. I don't think I'm even gonna get to ride. Okay, he crazy boy.
At this point in time, we had Happy's diet pretty dialed in, so this was like where he's on the soybean hulls, the copra, all the supplements that I go over in his feed video. And I think he's looking pretty good. So this I felt like was a pretty good start for us, and this facility was amazing, and the arenas are so nice. So I feel like we could really do some great work here. So naturally, we would want to start trying to jump. And as soon as we brought poles out into the arena, Happy was like, oh my god, no thank you. He was so anxious around the poles and the jump blocks, and he was just like, it was like he'd never seen them before, and I know he's jumped because I've jumped him before. So we realized at that point, Stephanie and I realized we had a lot of work ahead of us to get him to a point where he was relaxed and not feeling pressured to jump. This ride, literally the whole ride was me just trying to get him closer to those poles. The air quality was really bad this day, but it was more upper in the atmosphere, so down below it was definitely okay for us to be riding, because we would not be riding if it was bad air quality. I just want to put that out there. But as you can see, he actually started to relax over the poles and realize they were not monsters, and that we weren't going to push him from poles up into like a 3-foot jump. So he started to really calm down and be kind of happy to go over the poles and to work with them. And we had some green bean moments where he couldn't figure out what to do with his feet, which were hilarious. Around this time is when I began my work with trying to give more rein and be more giving with my hands. I hadn't quite started working on the buckle yet, but this basically was the ride that really started us to that point. This is a far cry from where he was at the beginning of doing all this pull work and jumping. Just so impressed with him relaxing and for the most part really getting it and being okay with everything. It doesn't look like to me he's being over fenced. How could he be? They're poles. But he just looks so much more relaxed than he did that first ride where he was shying away from the poles on the ground. And this is kind of where we are now, just working on relaxation and forward. Happy gets so anxious with forward and asking to go forward. He stops his hind, he throws his shoulder. He doesn't want to do it. He seems very uncomfortable with it. And he does do it, so we know it's not pain related at this point. I think it may have started out as pain related with the PSSM. But he's starting to really open up and realize that he can go forward and not be scared and not be anxious. And that's kind of what we're working on now, and I imagine we'll be working on it for a little while now.
You want? You want? You want?